Who would have thought that we are going to meet at the Startup Forum? Personally, I have a question from myself. It's not in the script. I read all your achievements in art and creative field, but maybe there is a Konstantin persona who is related to technologies. Maybe you are welding some microchips in the evenings, or maybe you had a choice when you were young to go to the rocket building university or to the theater academy. Well, I was graduating from school in the Soviet time, and there was this period when we had the experiment, when the class was divided in technical technical section, and those in humanities, working in humanities, and this is from where it started. I was I forgot what is physics, maths, and biology. So for the technical fields, I have a C mark for all of the technical lessons, for all of the technical fields. It's the same with me. Right, so you can write questions by scanning the QR code. And let's begin. Yeah. So we have optimists here. I do not want you to become pessimists, but I want to give you my perspective on this story. Maybe some would think it's a pessimistic one, and maybe some others would think that would be inspired to put some new tasks ahead. I was very skeptical about AI and this technology things because I am committed to the notion of the thinking human being, and I am very much afraid of atrophy of the muscles of the brain. Using all these sophisticated technologies and capabilities create a dangerous zone that the brain will be atrophied, will lose its flexibility. Then I'm a man of creativity, I sell uniqueness, and I have creative person's snobbery towards a machine that is trying to compete with me in the realm of the unique content. Over time, my first position can be regarded as cowardice. In the end, the atrophy of the brain is the challenge for the humans, and it's only up to us to make AI a tool that increases the complexity of our own human nature, and not something that will deteriorate that. It is only up to us to use this technology not to make life easier, but to make ourselves, our nature, more complex. Not to ease the activity of the humans, but to make the tasks that we face more complicated, more complex. But the technology has been created to make our lives easier, and I think that for human development, we need the technology that would make the challenge more complex, that would put this challenge to become a more 3D, more sophisticated and complex as a human being. The second part, the second position, turned into two challenges that I would now like to crystallize for those who apply this fantastic technology. I believe in the great future of AI, but whether it will be triumphant, well, that depends on whether we can address two of the most essential tasks that AI is still unable to resolve on the par with the human beings. I'm convinced that without resolving these two very important challenges, AI will never be able to defeat the humans in what we call creativity. By creativity, by the way, I mean not only art as a human activity, but this magical ability of humans to create something new out of nothing. The creation in the religious, mystical, and spiritual sense of the word. The created, made, and said, it is good. It's like you created it and you made it and said, yeah, it's good. And in those areas of human activities, AI cannot win, yes. Where everything is determined by math, AI will win and will continue to win. Chess, great example, showcase. Great chess masters were once priests of a mysterious cult, private to divine revelation. But AI has killed the magic of chess. It turned out that all this magic was merely a phenomenal depth of calculating combinations. This depth that used to be mystical, that had no bottom really because it was so deep. AI worked it out. Human brain was not able to address that, was not able to overcome that. And only inspiration was the solution, and the chess masters were the poets, the priests of this cult. However, in the areas where mathematics rules, inspiration has lost. Chess seemed an irrational game, yet AI has committed a sacrilege, really. It was this great game, but there are some areas of life where calculation and math are powerless, even harmful. It's where other factors come into play. Can AI master these areas and become a full-fledged player? Two ideas. Mr. Literary scholar and cultural theorist Yuri Lotman, Russian Soviet theorist, wrote a famous book called Culture and Explosion. He introduced the concept of explosion to describe dynamic changes in all spheres of culture and science. He saw the explosion and its unpredictability as one of the main factors of humanity's development, often connected with the most significant cultural phenomena and processes. Moreover, the greatest scientific ideas are, in a sense, akin to art. Their origins resemble an explosion. What is an explosion? I would try to build on Lotman's idea. The explosion, in this context, is something that is hidden in the human nature, the mysterious commitment towards destruction and even self-destruction. Those very forces of Eros and Thanatos, the force that creates life and the force that destroys it, define, like magical poles, the human being. In this dichotomy, death is not an end, but a rebirth, a radical renewal. It is the destruction and self-destruction that generates the next stage of development. It is a transformational passage, a return to chaos from which something new emerges. Art, creativity, and creation, in the very wide sense of the word, of these words, in the areas where new languages and new forms are generated, is an act of breaking into the unknown, the act of a risky, self-sacrificial leaping into the abyss that may turn into a flight. Or the result might be the defeat. Art itself is born from a self-destructive impulse. It's no coincidence that the philosophy of art so often speaks of the artist burning out, or the art. In Arthur Rimbaud's words, it is a sacrifice in which the victim and the priest are one and the same. He puts himself on the altar and destroys himself for the goal that he proclaimed before. This impulse is, this hidden brain is reset, unmotivated, unpredictable, uncalculable, is a wondrous and unique property of human nature. I call it, building on Lotman's idea, the genome of chaos. The genome of chaos is present in the human DNA. I'd like to reiterate that the motivation of this self-destruction is unfathomable. Some may call it ambition. No. Something that is motivated only by ambition does not bear the mark of masterpiece. Of course, greatness can sometimes be created by a request, by order, but masterpieces are born first and foremost from selflessness, this desire to create. The gene of chaos, the gene of this primal matter from which all is being woven. This is the real source of energy and creativity. This energy cannot be mathematically calculated. Here it is worth turning to the idea of error correlated with explosion, as postulated by quantum physics. Allow me to quote a lecture from its distinguished scientist Alexei Fedorov. The world is governed by symmetry, spatial temporal mirror. Conservation of energy or momentum is a manifestation of the symmetry of our universe, but sometimes errors occur. After the Big Bang, the fundamental building blocks of matter and antimatter, quarks and antiquarks, came together, but these pairs, being complete opposites, annihilated each other, leaving nothing, a vacuum. And then an error occurred. For every billion quark and anti-quark pairs, about one extra particle remained. And from these extra particles, matter formed. So you and me and everything that is around us. Thus, the symmetry of matter and antimatter was broken, and matter came to dominate. If not for this error, this full world would not exist. We do not know the nature of this error, it is unknown, and we do not understand why it happened. Explosion and error, these are the tools of creating the new, a new language, a new life, something unique, individual, truly breakthrough content. This is stepping outside of the matrix, unplugging from the matrix, which gives the world its next push forward. It's not the imitation of the development that only results in stagnation. Can a machine imitate an error? You may say it will learn from thousands and hundreds of thousands of millions and billions of trillions of errors, but the problem is that a calculated error is no longer that divine error, because a calculated error is not an error. And perhaps we should ask a question more broadly. Is there such a thing for a machine? Is it possible for a machine? Maybe this is the limit? Can a machine enact destruction and self-destruction driven by some irrational striving for renewal? Is it possible for a machine to have this gene of chaos? Let's go to Alesh's text, The Conspiracy of Feelings, where the hero was trying to make a machine that would destroy the world, and the machine that produces feelings. It's still a fairy tale. It's still a sci-fi book that was written in the start of 20th century. Can you create an algorithm of chaos? If scientists can teach and train AI, the capacity to understand error and explosion, the capacity for a miracle, for creation, then humans will resemble God, who created humans. I know that secretly all AI developers dream about becoming the creator. If that happens, I will bow my knees.
The second challenge, I work with AI. I try to ask some tasks related to artistic area in the realm of creativity, and so far it's just a literary slave. There were some literary slaves in the past that were listening to well-known people. They would structure the text, they would add the text, they would polish the task, and then they would publish it as a book, and their name would be maximum on the last page in the list of editors and assistants, so on and so forth. The same with large directors. There were apprentices who would make a performance, then the big director would come, would adjust it or tweak it a little bit, and would update it a little bit, and then his name and his signature would be put there. So far, AI is good in terms of the concept, and to me, unfortunately, it is currently quite mediocre. And moreover, I had a conversation with my students about this. I gave them an example, and we worked together with some softwares, and we generated a criteria. In case if you want to understand that you are doing that, something that has already been done before you, then consult AI. In case if AI will produce something that you have come up with or that you're trying to come up with, then your thought and your idea has already been invented. It happened in the past, and it means that your idea is trivial and you're lagging behind. The machine will show to you that you are behind in the realm of creativity. However, the machine, according to the machine, is creating something new. So, today artificial intelligence plays a similar role. It serves us. I often say that art is the temple of a religion whose god is the human being. Every poem created by a great poet is a small temple where people worship this poet. And through him, worship the human individuality, its uniqueness, its unrepeatability, and its difference. Creativity is one of the pinnacles of human activity and one of the positions that sets human apart from all other living things on earth and makes human human. An important aspect in creativity, as I have said, is irrationality, a lack of motivation by comfort, profit, convenience, and even beauty. Creativity is a pure act of self-expression, self-realization. It does not have a purpose. Drama, for instance, drama of modern art, is that thanks to rich people who are putting paintings on their walls, the purpose is to be comfortable to these people. A rich man, when he comes to a gallery, will choose a convenient picture, but not an inconvenient picture, inconvenient painting. This is how modern art is degraded and it becomes design, not art. It starts making revenue and it wants to be nice to the rich man who will put it on the wall of his dining room. Let me say creativity does not have anything else rather than an act of self-expression. It's a projection of on canvas or on the film pretending to be three-dimensional. We do not know how and where the creative act arises. We do not know what makes a creative act outstanding. We do not know by what laws art develops. Creativity is the projection of the part of the human being which can never be calculable. Equally incalculable and unrationable remains the perception of creativity. And the process of perception of creativity is the most important point in human perception and psychology. I call it the sense of the living. Maybe many of you or some of you have been to the theater. And we all know that strange effect when the actor comes up on stage and we see whether he is living on stage or not, whether he is true or fake, whether we believe him or we do not believe him. We see that this one is acting, he's trying his best, but he's acting. But this one lives on stage. He is living. We feel the sense of living, the way he's in life. How do we feel it? We have never seen this person before. We do not know this person. We have never spoken to him. We don't have any experience of communication with this person. We don't have a lot of data in our mind about his behavior in different situations. We know nothing about this person, about this actor, but we can feel, we can sense if he's living on stage or not. Moreover, this sense of living and not living is typical of children even. Even children. He doesn't have the experience of life, but children also can feel it, feel the sense of living in the energy of people around them. They feel the authenticity and exaggeration, false tones. The great Stanislavski once said, "I believe." I believe. This phrase became a meme. This word that theater people and other people are using. This is expressive of manipulation. I believe or I disbelieve. Just believe me how? No, he says just I believe or I don't believe. Explain me why. No, just say I believe or I don't believe. But it's genius. It's genius expression of to resemble the sense of living and the sense of false. This sense is higher than the sense of beauty, because the sense of beauty relates to design, but the sense of living relates to the amazing capacity of human being to catch individuality, individual features, the essence, the energy, art, creativity, or behavior. This fear is akin to immunity. It is genetically inherent to human beings, but it is a fragile substance, and I cannot but speak about the danger that lies ahead. While machine-synthesized images bear a stamp of artificiality and machines are striving to create something original and authentic, these images currently bear the mark of artificiality. The trained and attentive eye will see it and recognize it. It feels like plastic. It feels artificial. It feels like there is no soul in it. But an inattentive eye will no longer see it. The immunity has dropped due to decades of consumption of mass-produced products, the product that imitates color, the product that imitates scents and organic and different flavors. The same way, our sense of the living may degrade in case if we keep on consuming imitated products, imitations of the living content. I would urge you to do the following. Please stop imitating living content. In this way, you will kill human immunity. First, comprehend what it is. Comprehend what is the sense of the living. Comprehend the secrecy of human nature. Comprehend the uniqueness of human being and capabilities of the human being. Do not bring them down by imitating the living, but try to peek into human nature and by truly having this technology, create something new. Not by copying something, but create something by looking inside. At some point, my architect, Larisa Lomakina, told me an amazing thing. Stone brick walls cannot be repeated by concrete. It can never be repeated. It's a different matter, and it means that proportions are different. You can tell whether it's a concrete building or a stone-built buildings. A lot of people may walk around the city and see that, for instance, they may think that this cathedral, or this temple, or this building is a historic building. They do not have this feeling. They have atrophy of this sense of living. But a demanding human will definitely recognize it. This is why we cannot be similar to fabrics, and we cannot produce tasteless juice for ages. It's a different thing to set the task and to teach the machine, where the hypothetical Stanislavski will say, I believe, and this is a difficult task indeed. Just like the first challenge, it is not about accumulating information and an evolutionary refinement of algorithms. It requires a breakthrough, a discovery. It requires a breakthrough not in terms of machines, but in the area of human nature and the mystery of human nature. In conclusion, AI development has posed an astonishing task to humanity. And it's relevant like never before, to know itself. And in this sense, of course, we can say that AI is a very superhumanistic direction of science and technology, not in the primitive sense of simplifying and easing our lives and activities, but in a higher sense. The development of AI sets the task of comprehending the mystery of human being, the mystery of life and death, the mystery of creation. For centuries, philosophers and artists have been wrestled with this mystery. And for us, the comprehension of this mystery is becoming not something mystical, but something practical. It's a practical necessity, because without it, what we all are doing, all of us are doing, AI will not become perfect. And let me reiterate, if you create it, then you will create not just a machine, but you will create something more. Thank you. Wow. While I was behind the stage, I was listening very carefully. It was amazing. Thank you very much. I don't know how my assistants were choosing questions. There were a lot of questions that were asked. Konstantin, let me voice a few questions that we received. Thank you very much for asking questions, by the way. Question about children. At what age is it important to keep AI away from the child in order to preserve creativity in children? I think it's important to keep children away in terms of information selection and storing information in absolutely any age. It's self-discipline of a person, of a human being towards themselves, and disciplining adults towards children. We currently have this trend that we have a lot of reels, and children keep on listening to these reels, and as a result, children are degrading, and children are not able to perceive or longer messages and longer information, but it's a very dangerous. And another dangerous thing is degradation of their ability to select the right information, to search for information themselves, to segment information themselves, to filter through information themselves using their brain. It's a very important skill. Moreover, I believe it's a more important skill rather than everything else, because this skill, the ability of selecting the right information, of the abundance of all the information, is the true independence of human and inability to manipulate a human being in any intellectual area. Adults can discipline themselves in this way, but children, of course, need our protection here. Thank you. Another question. Do you watch new content creation tools? Do you watch AI, and do you try new things just to understand whether it's cool or not? I monitor it, of course, and I try new things. Definitely, I'm curious about it. It's tempting. It's very tempting to get addicted to AI using some routine tasks, and I'm trying myself to keep myself away from AI in these routine tasks, because addiction happens immediately, in an instant, and I don't want to lie to myself. I don't want to convince myself that this product is good and satisfactory. Oftentimes the product is really good. It is. But it's the same effect like with Navigator. I force myself to drive without Navigator because the streets that I know myself, all of a sudden I'm getting lost without a Navigator. Like it's 100th time using the same route and the Navigator is off and you start panicking. This is really bad. Let me reword my question. Could you reveal to us, in creative realm, where is AI already ruling? I don't think AI is ruling in any creative area, but sometimes AI is popping up here and there. It pops up in sound design, it pops up in visuals, in posters and costumes and outfits and decorations sometimes. I don't think any theater director or literature expert will ever admit that he was using AI in terms of the concept at the stage of ideation, because the ideation is still sacred for us. Ideation, or revelations. It's one thing when we were considered as messengers of God, but now we are messengers of AI. It's a different thing and different sensation, and the ambition is different, so I don't think anyone will admit it, but I'm sure that people are using it. If I may, I will ask a few more questions. What exercises? A person is asking, one of the audiences, what exercise should we do in order to develop creativity skill? And maybe do you do some exercise for this? No, I do not do any exercise for creativity. Creativity, I believe, is about the ability to go despite headwind, go despite the trend, and even, I do apologize for saying this, but to spit despite the headwind. The person is going in a way where the crowd is not going yet. You know, the picture, the crowd is going and only one person is going in the opposite direction or in another direction. Where he's going, why he's going there. And he's the one who attracts attention. He stands out, and this is creativity exactly. This is what is creative. And of course, keep on being humble and doubting. So not taking the easy path. do not use AI in search, but take time to search yourself, right? Yes, and also I wanted to say one more thing. Failure for your development, failure is much more important rather than success and progress. And one last question, it will bring us back to the main topic of our summit. Why would a founder, a high-tech founder, I'm sure that you mentioned it, but still, and why would an entrepreneur to have this sense of the living? They work with digits, with numbers. Because, I mentioned it, and it's because numbers, unfortunately, do not create breakthrough. Numbers are accumulating information, but breakthrough is unthinkable. It's unfathomable. In order to make it, you need to learn the human. Can you comprehend human? Can you study human with the help of numbers? I doubt. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you. There's also some criticism towards you. It's an actor on stage, and you don't have flowers. How come?